Hot Mic is brought to you by Red Wing Shoes of Fargo. Built to last. 3003 Main Avenue, Fargo. It's National Signing Day, a busy one around the area for local athletes, coaches, players, the whole nine yards. Hot Mic begins now.
Really? Really, Dom?
No.
I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something. Izzo.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mic. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Wednesday morning. Welcome to the Fax edition of Hot Mic on WDAY Extra. KSFL TV, good morning everybody in Sioux Falls, KNBN in western South Dakota, and all parts in between at Inforum.com. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Happy Hump Day. And for those that celebrate, happy National Signing Day. It is a big one around the country, not just for our Division I folks. Everybody's in the pool today. Division II, Division III, they get to have their moment in the sun. It's a big day. As I mentioned yesterday when we had Jack Julson on from Bismarck Legacy, that the day the fax machine apparently still works at some schools if needed. So it's a big day today. We're going to highlight a lot of that throughout the course of our program today. It is Bison Media Zone Wednesday. Pretty pumped to have Bison offensive coordinator Dan Larson is going to join us here in studio coming up in our second hour today to chat on the Bison signees. NDSU is going to add 8 guys today, some that you've met, others you have not throughout the course of our program here. So that's coming up later. We're going to discuss we'll rip the Band-Aid off. We have not talked to Dan since the game against Illinois State. We'll chat with him about that. And obviously, what's to come on Sunday with the Patriots and Seahawks in Super Bowl 60. Dan has probably the best connection of anybody that I can think of, considering he coached both Jalen Sundell and Gray Zabel as the Bison offensive line coach for many years, for ascending to offensive coordinator for this past season. So I don't think there's anybody more equipped to probably discuss what this is going to be for him and obviously for those two guys coming up later today. So we'll look forward to that conversation later on in our show today. A lot of football chatter today, but we got to start with some hoops. And everything that is looming with the NBA trade deadline is hours away now, comes tomorrow afternoon. The Timberwolves have refused to let this story die in terms of going for Giannis Antetokounmpo. I thought when it was first floated out last week, like, oh, that's cute. The Wolves are, trying to be heavy hitters here and maybe flirt with doing something monstrous. And now it just keeps getting larger and larger that this may actually be happening, question mark, because of the moves they made yesterday, which I can remember we did this show, whatever it was, 4 years ago now, when the Wolves made the deal for Mike Conley. And it was wrapped around the fact that they were getting rid of D'Angelo Russell, who had certainly worn out his welcome in Minnesota. And in the process, Tim Conley did a masterful job here because he got not only Mike Conley, he also got Nickeil Alexander-Walker, a guy that we didn't either know, at least certainly I didn't. Maybe the in-depth NBA fans certainly did, but that trade ended up being what put the Wolves on the path to becoming a Western Conference power. Because I just was looking at a piece of video before coming on the air this morning. It was from Game 7 against the Nuggets in Denver. In the fourth quarter of that game, which is going to be remembered, I think, forever by Wolves fans. Certainly I will. Conley gets a late steal. Again, that when he was at the top of his powers, he's not obviously there now. He's barely playing for Minnesota. forced a steal, kicked it to Anthony Edwards, who drills a three, and the rest is history. The Wolves were up by 10 at that point and were on their way to a massive upset Game 7 road win against the reigning NBA champions that took them to the Western Conference Finals against what would be the Dallas Mavericks that year. And that was the peak of it. And yesterday came the nadir of it because Conley was dealt yesterday to the Chicago Bulls as part of a 3-team swap that Minnesota had with Chicago and Detroit. It's to create more cap space, basically, for Minnesota. They pick swapped as well with the Pistons as part of it. Other parts of the trade is Jaden Ivey goes to Chicago from Detroit. Kevin Huerter and Dario Saric are heading to Detroit. ESPN's Bobby Marks reports the trade drops the Wolves' luxury tax bill from $24 million this season to $3.8. Now, this is where it gets into the weeds of trying to figure out the NBA salary cap and luxury tax and the aprons. I'm not going to do that because people's eyes will roll in the back of their heads. But the move puts the Wolves under the first apron of the salary cap by $2.4 million and just over the luxury tax line by about $4 million. Frankly, what it does is that gives them at least some wiggle room if they want to try and make this Giannis deal. Now, again, this is not going to be without moving major pieces of the roster, which would be Julius Randle, Jaden McDaniels, or Naz Reid. One of the combo of those that would have to be moved along if they're going to part with any of those guys. Would have to be at least two of them that are going to go, along with maybe another bench guy, maybe a Terrence Shannon Jr., maybe Rob Dillingham. There are no picks that the Wolves have available to move on, but this trade didn't calm that they are still working the phones here. So the deadline is tomorrow at 2. And certainly it seems like Minnesota is going to at least make every effort imaginable. Golden State is in the mix. Miami is in the mix. He may not be traded at all in terms of Giannis, but as of we sit here now at 9:07 a.m. Central Time on the day before, and everything is still building in that direction. Brian Windhorst, though, said this morning, not seeing a lot of momentum on a Giannis trade before the deadline. So, again, take that for what it's worth. There were a couple of deals yesterday. James Harden got traded again, this time from the Clippers. He's going to Cleveland. That's probably the biggest name that's been dealt prior to the deadline so far. So, again, if anything pops between now and 11 a.m., we'll keep you abreast of that. But as it starts now, there is no new news on what's going to happen between the Wolves and Giannis, outside of the fact they made it. Now, they could have gotten Kobe White out of this, too, who plays for the Bulls, and we just saw him last week, 2 weeks ago, when Chicago came in and beat Minnesota. That's a guy that the Wolves apparently were coveting, that they did not get in this deal, that if this is all that they do is create more cap space, then we're going to have some immediate questions for the new owners in Laurie and A-Rod on how I thought they had some money here, that they were going to spend it, and Anthony Edwards certainly going to have some questions as well. Like, wait a minute, we're just going to roll with what we got, knowing full well they need another guard, maybe a big man if they want to contend this year and make another run to the Western Conference Finals and beyond. Take that next step, win 3 more games in the West Finals and get to the NBA Finals. So that's the latest on what's going on at the NBA trade deadline. One other thing, we had no other highlight games last night. It was a quiet night. Everyone's playing tonight. Wild and Wolves are going. Gophers are going tonight. High school action last night. It was a busy Tuesday. The one game caught my attention, just seeing some scores that came in last night. Our cameras were out there to capture it, between Horace and West Fargo on the boys' side, which are two of the top teams in the EDC. We figure they're going to They've played twice. I imagine they're going to play one more time in the EDC tournament, just the way things are probably heading that way. Likely maybe a spot at the state tournament as well. They could face each other again. This was a brilliant game last night. Tip of the cap to Horace, who ended up winning the game 98-89 last night. Packers held Carter Evanson, who's the outstanding player for Horace. Might be a candidate for Mr. Basketball. He's going to play at UND next year. His average is 27, held to 17 last night. Owen Terrace, Aiden Green were great. Combined for career high in scoring. They combined for 53 to give Horace its fifth straight win. First place alone now in the EDC at 10-1. Terrace had 27. Green had 26 in the win for Horace last night. Now, West Fargo, who came in winners of 7 in a row, actually were down by 21 at one point, got it all the way down to 11 at halftime, and obviously made it a single-digit game before it was done. Man, that is a dynamite game. Foul at 27. Aiden Samick, who's signing today to play football, at 22. Knutson at 20. Just West Fargo, and we had Paul Chesky on a few weeks ago, about a month ago now, to chat about his team, and they are right there if you're talking top of the EDC, Davies obviously is going to be heard from. These two teams, dynamite game. You saw the video from last night from out in West Fargo. It was packed, and what a great environment. Congratulations to Horace, now 10-1 and in sole possession of first in the EDC. Remember, the storyline with them is obvious. They have not made it to the state basketball tournament yet. Last year, they were heavily favored to do it. They lost in the EDC tournament, then they lost in the state qualifier game and missed out. They may have the most talented team, at least on the eastern side of the state, to do it. Now it's a matter of can they get over the hump and make it there. So, big win last night for the Hawks on a busy night of high school games. One other basketball note before we get our show off and rolling here on this Wednesday morning. We normally don't do a whole lot of polls, especially in the basketball part of the season. We chat on the FCS poll just because it drives me nuts, and I vote on it. But last evening, found out that the North Dakota State women have now risen to the top of the mid-major poll. They are number one in the College Insider mid-major poll. Now, if you're asking me what is that? I've never heard of that before. You wouldn't be alone. The mid-major poll is made up of teams from the America East, the Atlantic Sun, the Big Sky, Big South, the CAA, Conference USA, which states shouldn't count as mid-major, just me. The Horizon, the Ivy League, the Summit obviously is in there, the Southland, Southwestern, the Patriot League, the Missouri Valley, the Ohio Valley, those teams. And thanks to NDSU's win on Saturday over Oral Roberts, they make it to the top spot. And because Columbia had beat Princeton, a game we actually featured on What to Watch on Friday, Princeton had held the number one spot, and then Columbia beat them, and so they have flip-flopped. So NDSU is now in the number one spot in the mid-major top 25. What does this mean? Pretty much nothing. It doesn't help for your at-large bid. It doesn't help for seeding-wise. What it does do is if things go completely haywire and the Bison miss out on the NCAA tournament, that they will be seated highly in the WBIT, which is the second-tier event. We're used to the WNIT. The Bison have played in that 3 straight years. The WBIT was created a couple years ago, which is a complete ESPN event made up of teams that don't make the NCAAs and the top, frankly, mid-majors that miss out. Minnesota won this event last year. You remember that the Gophers won the WBIT, and now look at the springboard of them to a really good year, and they're in position to make the NCAAs. NDSU in this mid-major poll, just out of curiosity, when you look at it here, They have played. South Dakota State is at 10. They've beaten the Jackrabbits. Montana State is at 15. They beat Montana State. Gonzaga's at 16. That's one of the 2 losses the Bison have. Remember, that was the home opener this year, way back in early November. Let's see. UC Irvine is on here. South Dakota has made its debut at 24. Obviously, the Bison have already beaten USD this year. So there's a handful of teams that NDSU has already knocked off or one loss to so far. So, again, if you're scoring at home, may not be the biggest thing in the world, but it is important to note just the fact that, again, a year of firsts that is happening for this Bison women's basketball team. That's another one as they get set to hit the road. Leaving today, heading for Kansas City and then Omaha. Trip in the past that's frankly gotten them. We'll see how they fare coming up starting tomorrow. I mentioned we got a busy show here on our signing day, Wednesday Spectacular. In just a few minutes, our guy Drew Trafton will be here to spike the football as much as he can about his beloved Seattle Seahawks are in the Super Bowl. They are facing off with the New England Patriots coming up on Sunday night. We'll get Drew's full breakdown of the game. We waited last week. Now we can dive into it. That's coming up at 9:20. A rare February appearance by our guy Steve Laqua will join us coming up at 9:35. It's a busy day. The Dragons are announcing their huge class, including a quarterback out of the state of Texas. We'll get the lowdown on Peyton Wallen deciding to commit to play football at MSUM. Dragons have added a couple QBs as well. Michael Rosberg is transferring back. He'll play for Laqua as well. We'll get the lowdown on that. Some outstanding wide receivers. You met one yesterday in Jack Julson. J.J. Dunlap from Moorhead is going to be playing for MSUM. Get the lowdown on the effect of having a guy that finished 4th in the Harlan Hill and then the other guy who set the NCAA Division II receiving record. There might be some steam around this football team. We'll talk with Steve about that coming up at 9:35. And as I mentioned, Dan Larson, NDSU offensive coordinator, will join us as well on the Bison signees today and chat some Bison football, of course, with the NDSU connection in the Super Bowl. We'll do that coming up in our second hour. So, a lot to get to here on a busy Wednesday. We'll take our first break. Hot Mic is off and rolling. We're back after this on WDAY Extra, KSFL, KMBN, and Inforum.com. The week of weeks to have your intro, and it doesn't work.
I was telling the guys in the back, like, it says the biggest, but maybe it could be the only. Or
it's not
a lot
the
of the
only.
time it feels like that. But no,
I
you're
got
right.
3 emails already waiting for you here on this segment here today.
Yeah, we are full board.
Well,
if the
can I
other,
do it?
The biggest Seahawks, Sounders, Mariners fan of the FM area.
Yeah.
It's Views with Drew.
How about
it's
that?
good.
Was that all
That
right?
was really good.
I can't do voiceover,
Did you
guy.
do the voiceover
I
for
did,
that?
but I
look
tried
at
my
that.
best.
That was pretty good.
Drew Trafton joins us each and every Wednesday at 9:20. So DEF CON level, where are we at today?
Ooh, okay. So I would say 2. We're like it's imminent, right? Or it's like it's close because it's like we're not imminent, but we're on the
We're
cusp.
getting there.
Yeah.
So Zabel was the star of the star of the show on Monday night. We played a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Sat for an hour.
Yep.
On Monday night during Super Bowl opening night. And so I don't know who it was. I'm still trying to figure out who asked him about the Bison Mount Rushmore question.
Yeah,
Did you see
that was cool.
one?
Yeah,
which was
yeah.
really difficult, by the way, because I'm not sure how you nail that down to
especially in the
to 4
moment, like, and
guys.
you have
Correct.
like, I mean, I think he knew, like, you've got to give some shine to Cam Miller, like, and he did a good job with that, though.
He also was asked about there was some sort of SpongeBob thing going on because I could hear that in the background about his favorite episode on that. It's everything under. I'm covering that. It's everything under the sun.
I'll say your interview with Gray Zabel was so great.
I appreciate
it was
that.
fantastic.
We had a good time.
People should watch it. It was really fun.
Yeah, we're gonna have Mom and Dad, I believe, Friday on the show.
Very
so
cool.
I talked to his brother Jet, who's flying out, who's obviously on the Bison football team now. He's leaving on Friday to hit for San Francisco. I can only wonder what it's like. You know, you've experienced a few times a fan to have a team in the Super Bowl. This has got to be something else.
It doesn't feel real until like right before kickoff, and I kind of had forgotten about that. But the Super Bowl, it's a game that other people's teams play. Like even if you're a Patriots fan and like this is and you've been alive for all 10 of their trips, like still. 50 other Super Bowls have been played when your team's not in it. So it just always feels like it's somebody else's game until that ball gets kicked.
Yeah,
off.
it's we've talked about this again. I think even if somehow if this happens, I would find the amount of money to go and see it. I would somehow make that happen to go in person. I don't care if it was $10,000. It was probably round trip, probably with a ticket. Get there. It's probably about that much, I would think, which is crazy.
Well,
but
you've seen what it's like in person.
Yes.
You've been to a
Yes,
Super Bowl,
I
so
have.
you know what that experience is
it was
like.
actually 8 years ago today. I was there in Minneapolis for it, and it was amazing as a as a sports fan since as long as I can remember. That is on the bucket list. So actually go and cover one. And not cheering in the game, but just being there.
Yeah.
It's like, man, this is
all
really
in.
unbelievable. It was really cool. Now, let alone to be a fan, like if my team was playing in the game, that would be amazing.
We've seriously considered it once, and it was Super Bowl 48. And in hindsight, it's like, oh, yeah, I mean, that would have been the one to go to, of course. But because ticket prices were dropping so much because there was a storm that came in, and they didn't know which end of the weekend it was going to hit, like when we were a week out. And so it was like, ooh, this could get financially reasonable. This one, it was just like game tickets are $5,000. It's like it's San Francisco, Santa Clara. It's the Bay Area, which is already super expensive, and it was like
correct. Yeah, that's not a cheap endeavor to begin with.
No, we like the minute after the game ended, somebody texted my dad, and I was with my parents for the NFC Championship game, and they're like, "Hey, you should look at tickets to go down there."
Yep.
And I was like, Dad, it's not like, don't do it. It's like you're gonna have more fun probably just
Did you decide to go and do that? Did you at least look at what they were?
I looked that night, and it was like I couldn't find anything under like $7,500 at that point, and I think
and you haven't got there yet. Like you still have to physically get there, find a place you can't sleep in your rental car.
Yeah, like $5,000 is like face value for those tickets. It's crazy.
I'm just looking at the future sites of the game. Like what would be potentially, I don't know, because frankly, for those that don't know, and I've been out there, Santa Clara is nowhere close to San Francisco.
No.
They're saying it's San Francisco. It's 40 miles north.
Yeah.
I was out there when Trey Lance was. I mean, it's not close at all.
Yeah, the Seahawks are staying at San Jose State.
Yeah.
Like, they're in San Jose, and their practice facility is San Jose State, and that's like 10 miles away from the stadium. Like San Jose is. Like, I mean, it's closer to San Jose than it is San Francisco.
Not that I'm banking on next year, but next year is in L.A.
Yep.
That's not a cheap endeavor either. I can't imagine.
It's
a year out from the Olympics coming to Los Angeles.
Right.
Like I can't imagine that.
Yeah.
Then Super Bowl 62 was Georgia. Now that one Atlanta might be okay.
Yeah, and that's a cool stadium. I've always wanted to see that new Mercedes.
I don't know why I'm saying this. I'm going. Like the Jets would possibly be relevant in 2 years' time. I mean,
you never know. The Seahawks were 60-1 to get to the Super Bowl this year, right? So were the Patriots.
Guys actually have quality ownership, general manager, drafting ability, all that good stuff. That's why you're in the game. Dom, someone's going to see ghosts at Levi Stadium. That's callback of my guy Sam Darnold when he was with the Jets. At Levi Stadium Sunday, it's not going to be Sam. Young quarterbacks struggle against McDonald's defense, especially the first time. They're going to take Drake to the dark side. We don't have to worry about any stupid play calls on the goal line late in the game. Go Hawks.
Yeah.
That's from your buddy Dave and Minot.
Dave and I have been discussing
yes?
the game, and I think he's onto something there. That is one of the statistics that I think is interesting about this is young quarterbacks versus Mike McDonald is tough. But I mean, I really think that this game is going to come down to, both defenses I think are going to be the thing to watch here because these offenses are going to struggle to score points. I think if they both show up, there is a potential that somebody's going to out-scheme somebody else, and it's just going to get.
Drake May's hurt?
I think he's. I don't think he's
up in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
I've seen the replay of that play or whatever, and his shoulders sore, but I don't know if he's any more hurt than Sam Darnold is with his oblique.
Right.
So it's like
they're all right in the NFC Championship game.
Right.
I'll say that.
Modern medicine's pretty amazing. They can make things.
I will genuinely feel happy. I am happy for Sam Darnold. I'm so glad that the Jets didn't ruin him. And if they end up winning this game, I will feel happy for him. But the pit of my stomach's like, really, this was our guy.
Yeah.
He was a number. I still have the ESPN the magazine with him on it. Like that the Jets are going to get this guy, and they just couldn't figure it out.
I think it's been so cool this week. Every time he's been asked about it, is he's just like, that's part of my story, and I love it. It's like and he's able to see through all the stops that he's had and all the adversity. Like he's able to say like, that was just how I got here. Yeah. So it's just part of who I am. The other thing I really like about that on both sides of this matchup, nobody saw these teams in the Super Bowl, like at the start of the season. But you haven't
won 4 games last year.
You haven't heard either side be like, nobody believed in us.
Yeah,
like they have different sayings that are
might
kind
come
of,
on Sunday night.
It
Whoever
could,
wins.
it totally could. But you haven't heard it yet.
No,
and like that's something like even going back like a couple years ago, or last year, the Chiefs were always like, nobody believed in us to get here. It's like you were the 2-time defending champions going for 3. Like knock it off. And
when the Bison players said it, nobody, like what?
Yeah, it's like
you're the number 2 ranked team all season. Nobody believed.
Nobody believed in us. No, and you haven't heard that. And I think that that's a testament to the coaches on both sides of this matchup, where it's it's about us. It's about the team, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, to me, for Viking fans, I imagine it's a whole other different feeling if Seattle ends up winning this thing Sunday night. Obviously, in the wake of Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah getting fired last weekend, and it's hard to not draw a straight line. The Wilfs are seeing the guy that was our quarterback, now quarterback somebody else, and they're in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, what are you going to do?
What's kind of funny with that, too, to add a layer to that, is I was reminded this week that the Seahawks had a deal in place to get Fries on the offensive line. Had they have done that, because he didn't take a physical, and that's why he backed out of the deal with the Seahawks, signed with Minnesota. Had the Seahawks signed him,
wouldn't need Gray Zabel, right?
They wouldn't have drafted Gray Zabel, and where would they be? And so it's like there's a lot of Minnesota-Seattle connections that just to get to the Super Bowl, so many things have to go right for your team.
Yep.
You can be a great team, but you still can fall short. I mean, we saw that only 2 teams get there. You have to have luck on your side. Things have to, the chips have to fall the right way, and they have this year for Seattle, and obviously for New England too. But there's that other layer of the Minnesota thing,
no doubt,
this season that really helped.
All right, so now to the game itself. What are you going to be around people? Can you be around people? Will you do,
No.
How's this going to work Sunday?
My previous Super Bowl experiences have taught me that you...
Well, one of them was here.
One of them was here, and that was great. They did such a good job of making me comfortable. Like that was, which I like, in retrospect, I look back, I'm like, they thought I was a lunatic, and they were like just trying to make it like palatable for everybody else, I think, that day, and they succeeded marvelously. But I'm going to be locked away in my basement. Not like it's so that like you think that going to the Super Bowl is fun, and it is. Like the lead up to it is incredibly fun. Afterwards, if you win, it's like the best thing ever. But that 3.5 hours during the game, you don't want to be around other people, because if you're at a Super Bowl party and it's your team, half the people there do not care. They're like talking about how that was the 3rd time they saw the same Doritos commercial, or something. And it's like they don't get, like, this is potentially the happiest sports moment of your life, that's on the line, and it's tense, and so you don't want to be around non-fans.
All right, Eric, do we have breaking news? Can we get the breaking news sounder? Because this is actually a stunner. I don't know if you know this. Headline from Skyline Sports: Bobby Hauck expected to resign as Montana Grizz head coach today. Yeah.
No.
On a day Montana is scheduled to announce its most recent class of football recruits, longtime head coach Bobby Hauck is instead expected to resign. By 8 a.m., Skyline Sports confirmed with more than a dozen independent sources that Hauck will resign as Montana's head football coach this morning. An official announcement is expected at 9:30 a.m., which is 10:30 our time. Bobby Kennedy, who served as Montana's wide receiver coach last season, is expected to be named the head coach. One source close to athletics said that Kennedy will not have an interim tag. Whoa!
I'm totally blindsided by this. I've heard nothing leading up to this. This is...
All right, so let's do this. We got to have Laqua coming on. Can you stick around for like a half hour? Or you got somewhere to be?
No, I can.
All right,
let's
do this. So major FCS news here that Bobby Hauck, the head coach of the University of Montana, Just break for our friends at Skyline Sports, expected to resign.
Whoa.
Right? Montana, fresh off an appearance in the FCS semifinals, 2023 national runners-up.
I've got to collect my thoughts on
We'll get more
this.
from Drew
Holy
coming
cow.
on in this a little bit. Let's break. Steve Laqua coming up. We'll chat some national signing day with the Dragons and more on Shocker out of Missoula. That's coming up when we come back. Welcome back, everybody. Off and rolling here on a busy Wednesday that got even busier with, again, if you missed our breaking news out of Missoula, shout out to our guys at Skyline Sports breaking this, that Bobby Hauck expected to resign as head coach of Montana later this morning. So much more on that. We'll get into that coming up in our second hour. More signing day coverage as well. We'll chat with Bison offensive coordinator Dan Larson going to join us coming up at about 10:15, 10:20 this morning to go through that. And we mentioned it is signing day. Tons of local kids are making it official. They're making it official at Minnesota State University Moorhead, where we get a rare off-season appearance from our guy, Steve Laqua. We've been doing this forever as well. Not only we do it every Tuesday, but signing days with Steve. You know what? That could be we could sell that. Signing days with Steve. What do you make about that?
It's a rare appearance. That's probably good for the viewers. They need a break after a steady dose in the fall. It's kind of like a farmer. They need to have winter off and just kind of let that season go before we get back to it.
Hey, I'm telling you, you're one of our favorite guests. Viewers tell me we love having Coach Laqua on, so I'm just telling you. All right.
That must be from my parents are sending that.
I'm just telling you, when you tell your agent when we go back to negotiations for next fall to do this again, that you might want to hike the rate. All right.
Yeah, so I might be able to get 2 cups of coffee this year for the gig. That'd be great.
So describe what this is like, because we were talking during the season. You had a bunch of these guys committed, Steve, in the summer. Now you've had to hang on to them for the last 4 months. What has this been like to get to today?
Yeah, to be honest, it's changed so much over the last, I would say probably 3 years in particular. I mean, we only had 2 January commits. The rest were all done by the end of December. The majority was done by the end of the season, and so it's happening so much faster. The typical recruiting season is now less stressful because you kind of already got them there. And to be honest, I feel like we're still at this pure line of football in the sense that, there's so much talk about the portal and the problems like it, dislike it. I'm like, we are right at the line where are we affected a little bit, but not very much. Are we affected by, decommitments and people trying to steal our commits? No, not really. And so whether that's we're at this pure level or we've got guys that, they've made commitments for a reason. They're not waffling back and forth. They're not, I'm committed until I find something better. It's a great place to be. I really like where we are right now from a job satisfaction, right? You talk to college coaches and the portal seems to be tearing them up and they're getting out of it and whatever. I'm like, I feel still like we're in a beautiful place where guys are playing the game because they love the game. They're playing the game with the intention of being there all their career, building relationships and who they are and what the logo that's attached to them by the end of their career. And recruiting's no different.
So I have to ask as well, coming off a year, you win 8 games. Your quarterback is getting flirted with the National Football League. Of a wide receiver that set the all-time Division II record. Does that open doors that previously were locked?
Well, I think it makes a lot more, interest in the program, especially, right? I know there's quarterbacks that look at it and go, wow, well, I watched Jack. I saw what he could do. I'm intrigued, maybe not like the crazy necessarily thoughts of, I'm going to get to the NFL by doing this, but wow, this is a great place to play quarterback and the opportunities you get. The same thing with the receivers. I think that's there. I think as we're going through the recruiting process and you have, the preseason and especially local guys, but we would have guys make trips before they started their high school season and they'd watch us practice and have an unofficial visit. Well, it probably helps to be watching our practice and not just see those guys out there, but see, hey, there's 2 or 3 NFL scouts standing here. Yeah. Wow. Okay. It's kind of a big deal. It's unique, especially for a high school kid and his parents. And so I do think it helped.
I know when you got this job, don't hate me now, 15 years ago to take over here, that getting local guys was priority one. Now it seems they're coming to you. When did that turn to say, MSUM is the place I want to go? If Division I is not where I'm at and I'm a local guy, I want to go play for the Dragons.
Well, I hope that it's gotten to that point. That's something we've worked really hard for. And you know what? I'm honest. Like I know that the vast majority of kids growing up in the region, like they're not growing up dreaming that they're going to become a Dragon, right? They're most likely, if they're in this neck of the woods, they want to be a Bison. But you're right. At some point, hey, that's not going to work out. And I do believe that now we've gotten to the point, and I think, somewhere in the last 5 years or so, we're like, that is a great place to be. It's an awesome option. It is. We're competitive. We're at a high level. I know 15 years ago it wasn't. It was kind of like, oh, really? I mean, I don't know about that. And but credit, we've slowly built it. I think we've built our reputation of doing things the right way, how we do it, style of play, that we've done it with the guys in the backyard. You look, it's Minnesota, North Dakota kids, again, 90% of our class. And I've always said, like, we're a program of the region for the people of the region. I believe in the people of this region. I mean, I'm one of those guys. That is what we should be. Obviously, we get outside of our area a little bit, but that's how you build a football team. And I'm really excited about the guys we have in the program we're building.
So off of that, I'm going to ask you, got a guy out of Texas. We had Peyton Wallen on the show last summer, Steve, when he announced his commitment. How in the world did you get a quarterback out of the state of Texas to come to Moorhead, Minnesota?
Well, honestly, you probably got to give props and thanks to North Dakota State, right? North Dakota State recruits Peyton, gets him up here for a junior visit, so he knows the area, brings him up to camps, but while he's there, he's like, okay, well, he gets a junior visit at MSUM. He's at camp and, can go to camp and stop by and look at MSUM again afterwards, and then he ends up committing, and then he's up here for a game day visit. So you look at, he's from Texas, but he's been to campus 3 times before he early enrolled here just a handful of weeks ago. And so that's probably maybe more times than somebody from an hour and a half away has maybe been to campus. And so, that's, I don't know how to say it's a partnership, but it's a great benefit of being in the same area and having that opportunity to be able to kind of piggyback that.
So that's how he got here. Give us the lowdown. What kind of quarterback is he, and what can he bring to the table for you?
Well, I think there's a lot of similarities, you look at what he's done in high school, similar to Jack in the sense of he didn't throw the ball a lot. He wasn't an offense where he handed off and wing tee and you run and he's strong, he's powerful. He can run the football, but he's got really good touch. And when he's at camp and you're working with him and you're coaching at those camps and you can see him and you're like, okay, well, he can throw the football really, really well. And so now how do we tap into it? So I do think there's going to be a balance. I don't know. I think he's a different runner than Jack. Obviously, he's going to be a different thrower, but, at the end of the day, you're trying to get the aggregate to reach the offensive output. And so it might not be, 84% throw. It might be, 60% throw, but now you add him putting some legs on there, and that becomes difficult for the defense.
Looks effortless out of his hand. Is that accurate from when he's throwing the football?
I would say yes. He does a great job. He is he's a big, strong, powerful runner with a strong arm. He's confident. He's got great touch. He can make all the throws that you want him to make. I think, we're really excited, and we're glad that, he graduated early. He's here. We're going to get to see him in spring ball, and it's going to be a really competitive quarterback room this spring.
How's the adjustment gone from Texas to Minnesota cold so far for him?
Well, he was here this morning at the team meeting, which means he survived last week of minus 26 degrees and whatever the wind chill was in the wind. So I'm like, I don't know that it can get much worse. So, I mean, and you look at the forecast for the next week. I mean, it's going to be a balmy 32 degrees. Like, yeah, he's going to be in short sleeves. Going to be no problem.
You told him about what spring ball, because I've been out there sometimes with you, and it's been snowing when we've been out there for spring ball sometimes. So
he's definitely aware, and so I think he'll have to learn a little bit. Okay, what are the tricks to keeping your hand warm to be able to throw a football? It's probably not something he's had to develop over the years. Where the local guys, I mean, you develop that on the playground. You better figure it out. You can't throw it with a mitten, so you take the mitten off, and you got to figure out how to win on the playground. Get your grade a win over the other grade.
We've seen Texas high school football in movies and television. What's the level for him? Where's he's coming from? How high of it is it, Steve, where he's coming out of Texas?
Well, I think if you look at Texas, everything is high, right? I've always said big time's where you're at, but it doesn't matter if you're playing 1A, 8A, like that is really, really big, and football is big. And so I think he understands, what that is, what it is to have that kind of focus on. And so I think it's a great transition because it's something where it's year round. It's super important. That's the type of attitude you want out of your guys, especially a guy that would be in a leadership position as a quarterback.
You've had some great former Spuds play for you. You've got another one, I think you're hoping, J.J. Dunlap, who we've watched play for Kevin Feeney over the last couple of years. Where can he fit in as that maybe slot wide receiver at the next level?
Well, definitely, right? I think if you've watched the Dragons, you could kind of say, hey, we have a type at slot, and J.J. fits it. And then, not just from a skill set of size, ability to make people move, burst. Like, if you look at what Kevin's doing at Moorhead, there's a lot of similarities. And so when you start looking at, okay, can he do the things we're going to ask him to do? And you flip on the film and you can see it. You're like, yeah, those are the exact, maybe not the exact same routes, but the same positions where he's going to make it, the same situation. Hey, I got to get yards after catch. And so I think he's got a great chance to have a tremendous transition from high school to college.
How quick is he? He's not a big guy, but is he quick like your old guy, like Grady Bresnahan kind of player?
Without a doubt, you've got to be quick, right? And I think that's something that those type of players have developed, right? If you're not going to be big in stature, then you better be quick, because if you're not, you're going to take a lot of hits, and that's not great. And so you develop that skill. How do I get shifty? How do I get in and out of breaks? How do I get out of trouble? How do I, honestly, small things, but how do I get down and get tackled without it having been something that's going to take me out of the game? And I think the slots, especially in this class and the ones we've had, they understand those things, and they do a really good job of getting the extra yards after catch.
We had Jack Julson on yesterday out of Bismarck Legacy, big kid. What stood out to you about getting Jack?
Well, just a playmaker. He just makes plays. He makes plays on both sides of the field. Like, if you watch him, you could literally make a case that the kid can play on both sides of the field and, excel offense, defense. That's usually sign number one, that you've got a high level of, chance of being successful. And then you look and you go, okay, multi-sports, great family, playmaker, like at a receiver position that we need to kind of replace. We had seniors, that walked out the door and graduated. There's openings. We've got to make sure we've got enough weapons for a new quarterback. And you see what he can do on his ball skills, his catch radius. Big time player, big time play. Pressure doesn't bother him. That's what you want, right, at a position like that.
Okay, we're giving way too much love to the offense. How about a couple defensive guys that you signed today that you really are excited about seeing?
Honestly, there's a lot of them. I think it's tough to single out. If you look at Harrison Walker, like, his numbers are outrageous. Like the tackles for losses, the sacks. You're looking at him and you watch him at camps and you're around and you're okay, yes, he's undersized, but I watch him against Division I offensive linemen in the pass circuit, and they couldn't block him. And I get, he didn't have, they still can't block him. And so that's disruptive. I think Casey Nordic out of Horace is another example of that very disruptive player. Parker Hunter out of, and Eli Thompson out of Grand Forks Central and Park Rapids. They've got unique skills, I think, that pop, not just that linebacker, but kind of guys that can make adjustments on blitzes, read in and out of things. I think, look at the two Wobbin players. They're very successful guys. I think the one, Brody, is really intriguing. And you see this big man running out there and you're like, wow, running back, linebacker, he could play D-line. Like, I watched this morning and all I could think of was Brian Urlacher. It was a crazy deal. Like, when he was playing a safety in college and then he becomes an NFL, linebacker. And so I think there's a lot of good players. Jackson Narum out of Horace is a downhill hitter, fearless, can cover guys too. I really like our class. I think we've put two really, really good classes together, and it was important after a big senior class. We got to replace it with numbers, but you want to get two back-to-back classes that are super talented.
Well, that Alex Meese kid out of Davies, he all right?
He's doing an all right job, right? He's, he's physically kind of fits the type of defensive lineman that we want. Maybe a little bit undersized, but he moves well. He can turn the corner, bend. He can play straight line speed. Part of a state championship team. You definitely want winners like that in your program.
All right, two last things before we go. I was hoping you were going to be the first coach to say, we didn't get anybody we wanted. I don't like my class at all, because every coach at every signing day says, we got everybody we wanted. This is exactly what we want. I thought you were going to break the mold for me today.
Well, I break the mold in a lot of ways. I don't know. That's probably not the one, but we could kind of go through a lot of other ones. I think the viewers could probably weigh in on that, on how I break the mold. And so probably, the first one's probably just
or at least give me a different cliche. Like, ooh, we got a guy that no one was looking at. We're the only ones that offered him, right? You could do that.
Yeah, I've got too many cliches, but I don't know that they're good right now. But I am trying to develop them. I I am on a side gig now.
Well, I was going to bring that up before we go because you told me that. So you have another job. So you have another job right now besides head football coach.
Well, I've taken on the color commentary, the sidekick to Hunter Ranke for Fargo Davies varsity girls basketball. And so I'm kind of the color guy up there. I'm 2 games in, not to brag or anything, but we are undefeated 2 times. It's dynamic duo in the booth. I think it's both 30-point-plus wins. So I think we've got some things rolling. I really enjoy it. It's great. It's one of the things I came back and I told the coaches after the first day, I said, hey, by the end of the rest of the season here, I think I'm going to pull some lessons that are going to help me be a better football coach. And, I'm 2 games in, and honestly, I feel really good about, like, when you're, and this, you're on the air, you got to be positive. I can't be up there dogging the refs or, hey, wow, that was a terrible shot selection. You got to be positive, and maybe it's a bad play for the Davies Eagles, but it's a good play for, last night, the Spuds, and I can say that. And so I'm always a positive. It's kind of like being a head coach at spring ball. I can be upset, or I can be like, wow, great play by the defense, great play by the offense. If I can bring that into coaching, now I don't think I'm going to sit next to the quarterback and say, wow, that was just a heck of an interception that guy made. Wow, we've got to tip our hat. I don't think I'm going to do that. But if I can continue to focus on being more positive in the game and seeing the good, I think it can help me be a better coach. So 2 games in, that's my takeaway. We'll see.
I'm going to give you the coaching cliche. I'm going to have to go back and look at the tape and see how you did, and then the next time you're on, we can maybe play some of it and get a full critical conversation about what we did here.
I would love that, and that would be perfect, and it would provide a lot of humor, I think, for the fans, because I'll give you a little. My first day in, Hunter turns to me, it's like, who was that the foul was on? I missed it there. And I watched, but I was like, yeah, I probably should have been paying attention to who it was. So, like, he needed me, I was his wingman, and I just left him.
You bailed out.
So I got better. I was there last night. Man. I did a good job, I think.
That's fantastic. I know how plugged in you are since you're in your submarine. You got to pick for the game. There's a football game Sunday night. I don't know if you know.
As of 30 minutes ago, somebody said, I can't believe I got scheduled to work on Sunday. And I was like, oh, yeah, it's kind of tough to find out, this late. And they're like, it's not about finding out late. It's the Super Bowl. I went, yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right. The Super Bowl. So, I don't know. I'll go with the Patriots for lack of a better. Okay. You want to see Tom Brady win again, right?
Yeah, you know how much I love that guy. Yeah, absolutely. Great stuff, bud. Thanks so much for giving us the inside info. Be well. Good luck on your side gig, and we'll talk soon. Okay.
Appreciate it.
There he goes, Steve Laqua, head coach, MSU Moorhead, joining us here on National Signing Day. The Dragons signing 36 guys, and over 25 of them here from our neck of the woods in our viewing area, and guys that you've seen on First Down Friday, including a couple that we just mentioned here during our segment. All right, we'll break. We'll wrap the first hour. Back when we come back, more on the breaking news out of Missoula that Bobby Hauck is resigning as head coach at the University of Montana. Back on a suddenly busier Wednesday Hot Mic after this. Some crazy breaking news out of the FCS world. Much more on Montana and Bobby Hauck apparently breaking up. That's coming up. We start hour 2. Bison Media Zone as well on the way. Back after this.
The networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo. The biggest Seahawks, Sounders, and Mariners fan in the FM area. It's time for Views with Drew.
Not now, guys. Not now, guys. No.
Drew's making a special reappearance on the show for the breaking news that broke here about 25 minutes ago that the University of Montana now has made it official. Release that just came out that Bobby Hauck is retiring as Montana head coach. Hauck, it says, well, here he goes. Hauck and Montana Director of Athletics Kent Haslam will address the media in a press conference set for 10 a.m. Mountain Time Wednesday in the Adams Center West Auxiliary Gym. During his 2 tenures at Montana, led Montana to 8 Big Sky championships, 4 national championship appearances, 20 wins in the FCS playoffs, and 13 playoff appearances, winning as coach in Big Sky Conference history. Okay, so now you've had about 25 minutes to soak this in.
Yeah, and just the things have settled in my head a little bit about the timing of this and if that makes sense.
Again, it's signing day today.
It's signing day. And they had an event scheduled. They had a luncheon scheduled.
That's amazing.
So this clearly came together very, very quickly.
Well, there's some backstory here as well. You were telling me the University of Montana president just stepped down as well.
Seth Bodner, who's been the president there for like 6 or 7 years, and he really did a good job of turning that school back around. When I went there, it was the biggest school in the state. It was, just head and shoulders kind of above everything else. And then it really, really went into a sharp decline. And there were a lot of reasons for that. And now he's been building it back pretty steadily. But he stepped down, and he's considering a run for U.S. Senate as an independent in the state of Montana. And I have no idea if that's correlated to this at all. I doubt it. Hauk is... he's the winningest coach in Big Sky history. Like we said, if they knew this was going to happen, there would be so much more prepared than what they're throwing out there this morning. The beat reporters in Missoula, I just did a really quick roundup. They said that they had heard about this earlier this morning, like right before it broke. And my sense is that Coulter tipped them off to what was happening. And so it sounds like this came together either really late last night or very, very early this morning.
So Bobby Kennedy is going to be, it looks like, the coach. And the end of the release, it says here, Montana wide receivers coach Bobby Kennedy has been named head coach and will oversee operations of the program going forward. No interim. It says head coach.
I'd be very curious if this is a multi-year contract deal, or is this because he has a long pedigree of coaching.
So he just got there last August.
Last August is the first season with the Grizz, and he is only ever as far as I can see.
Because their wide receiver, where did the wide receiver coach go? I remember we talked about this because it was late that he left,
and it was like was it a Pac-12?
I can't remember. It was definitely
it was a higher
job.
Rogers to Washington State.
Might have been. Anyway, that's
So Bobby Kennedy's new to Montana. He coached with Hauk in 2002 at the University of Washington. He's only ever been a wide receivers coach, as far as I could see. He's coached in a couple BCS title games. He coached at Texas. He's coached in a couple of Rose Bowls. He's been places. He's coached high level college athletics, but not as a head coach or a coordinator. And this, to me, it kind of feels like a Band-Aid. They weren't expecting this. They had to make a hire real quick because now a 15-day transfer portal window opens for the players, which is, and we all know how many players are out there. There's a lot of uncertainty, so that might help Montana keep these guys.
Right, but just the level of player. If they're moving quickly here and naming a guy who's on the staff, they're hopeful that's going to keep
the
roster
together. Right.
But
what sort of coaching staff can this guy assemble? There's so many questions that are just floating out there, and the biggest one in the moment, of course, is why is this happening?
Yep.
And that's going to, I assume,
that better be question one,
somewhat addressed.
That better be question one if it's not addressed by the statements that they'll have.
It's like, why now? Why today? What if this was planned and maybe it's not? And I hope, I sincerely hope everything's okay for Bobby, personally, and that he's all right. But so many questions.
How will tenure 2 be remembered by Grizz fans?
Stability, I think, and maybe a path forward to getting back to the tradition of the program, the winning tradition of the program that had been established before him. Not as successful as tenure 1 by any stretch of the imagination.
Right. And then obviously seeing their chief rival pass them over the last couple of years.
Seemingly not have an answer for that or be able to kind of keep pace with that. Recently there's been, since that semifinal loss, there's been so much talk about how Montana's being out-recruited within the state, and more what's creating more vitriol is being out-recruited within the city itself.
Yeah, that's
the
tough,
Cats,
man.
And every time Vegan makes an appearance at a Missoula high school with an athlete or something, that picture is being circulated
as well. It should,
big time. In the Montana circles of saying we're being out recruited in our own town. Like there'll be, like I've seen screenshots of maps between, there's a high school in Missoula called Big Sky High School and Hellgate High School. And Hellgate's like literally a stone's throw away from University of Montana campus, and Big Sky's like a mile or two away, and people will post like a picture of the Adams Center offices to the Big Sky campus, and it's like, why is Brent Vegan there, but we've never seen a picture of a Montana coach there. And so there's been a lot of that, and I don't know if Houck's going to stand up there in 50 minutes and say, I just don't have it any, I don't have the passion for it, but I don't see that.
Again, if you were going to do that, then you should have done it
there was a long runway.
Before Christmas and when the season was over.
Yeah, I mean, those conversations have happened, right? I mean, I don't think anybody who pays attention to college football would think that those conversations haven't happened.
We just went
They've
over
had
this
all their
right.
meetings.
We just went all this with the Vikings deal, like the
they
timing
just
of that.
recruited a class of kids to come in here. Like he's done that work. So it's like, why now is the huge question that is going to have to be answered in some capacity. And I can't imagine that the answer is going to be anything less than shocking one way or the other. I mean, even if it's just that he gets up there and says, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, I just don't.
It's like, well, what does that say about the culture of that place? How it's, what's going on there? I mean, that's going to be earth-shattering, and again, it is one way or the other.
It goes back to what you said, like, why didn't this be decided then in December when the season was over? The season ended. The semifinal game was December 20th when they lost to Montana State.
And the fact that none of the beat reporters had seemingly had a clue that this was happening, you know what that means, that it was very, very sudden. This is going to be and
it's retiring.
Whirlwind.
He's not leaving for another job. It says there in the release, retiring.
Yeah. Which is concerning too.
How old is he?
I think he's in his 60s. I'd say early 60s. He's not. I mean, he's perfectly within a window of
being done.
In coaching.
61.
And so I mean, he could have done this for another 5 years very easily, if not longer.
So here's more from the Skyline Sports story. Montana's expected to announce the signing of 24 mid-year transfers and a variety of other high school recruits compiled during a season that saw Montana win 11 straight games, only lose its rivalry game at home to Montana State. The Grizz that had consecutive dominant performances in the playoffs, thrashing South Dakota State and South Dakota to set up a rematch against Montana State and Bozeman. Montana State won that semifinal matchup and went on to win its first national championship in 41 years. I mean, you think about,
man, I just thought, like, the coaches on that staff, and I know a few of those guys. It's like, what are they going to do? There's so many questions.
There's a couple I look at. I look at Gilman right away.
Yeah.
I would look at Ayat right away. I mean, Brooks Davis I would look at right away.
And Ayat is a legacy player. His dad played there. So I think that he's okay. Eli Gilman apparently just had a surgery, like that people are talking about, like his clavicle was broken and he had that surgically repaired. And the school didn't say anything about that. He hasn't said anything about that, but apparently his social media posts, it's like pretty evident that he had the surgery. And so I wonder if he'd be looking to move at this point. I mean, he's been pretty dedicated. Brooks Davis, though,
Davis
absolutely.
is one that I go right away.
I would be very worried about that.
You can't be naive to think the vultures won't circle on this. You have to.
Yeah, I mean, and they have, some, especially on their offense.
And they've already lost a handful of guys that left when the season was done to go in the portal originally.
Yeah, I mean, especially on their offense. And I mean, like, National Signing Day. Everybody has their teams pretty much in their head right now, and they know what they're missing.
This is a big day. We're about the future of the team. Like, this is, we're excited about what's to come. And now this is a bombshell.
Yeah.
It's a bombshell of FCS news here.
And like that coaching hire they have to know is very uninspiring. That they're going to have to sell the alumni base
for
on
people
this.
that aren't as into this on Grizz football as you are, like, I remember when they hired Mick Delaney. Took over. Was that 2013?
Yeah, he came in after Robin Pflugrad.
Right, Pflugrad was hired after Houck left originally to go to UNLV. And
Pflugrad was a wide receivers coach, and that's what he had been. And but they saw him as a player's coach,
right?
Which is kind of concerning if that's why they're doing this to try to keep people together.
Now, Pflugrad, he fell on the sword of obviously all the off the field things that were happening at the university at the time, and they let him go. Delaney was an older guy.
He was brought in to stabilize everything.
And I remember he was the coach when the Grizz came here in 2014.
Yeah,
when the Bison played Montana, that he was coaching then, and then obviously they hired Bob Stitt.
Yes.
And that was the run of 3 years, right? Stitt was the coach for 3 years, and they never did anything there. Didn't even make the playoffs, I think, back-to-back years, correct?
No, he had a really rough run internally
the highlight was
as well.
His first game.
They
beat the Bison
and then
his
it was
first game.
all downhill from there for the most part.
And then Houck came back. And
he got him back to where they were like a respectable competing program.
19, they made the quarterfinals, right? Because that was the year they lost to James Madison, right? No, they lost to Weber State.
Weber in Ogden.
And obviously they didn't play the COVID year, and then they came back and kept making strides. The quarterfinals, obviously they beat North Dakota State, made the national championship game in 2023, and this year a semifinal run before losing to Montana State.
And the key pieces to do that again next year were there. You know, I mean, like and there's not a ton of, that we all know that the top end of the FCS is extremely heavy. And so it's hard to fall out of it when you're there, and it's hard to get into it. But they were there. They could have easily made another run like that. And there's nothing to say that I suppose that they couldn't. But, I mean, you're going to lose so much out the door with this. Like, player-wise, yes. But Bobby Houck, I mean, he had been there for, like, so long, between the two runs. There was so much connectivity between those two tenures on his staff now. There was so much, it's just, I don't know. Like I'm just speechless at what they're going to have to build back up now.
We don't get a lot of these stories anymore because normally something either will get leaked or we'll hear rumblings of it. That is not the case at all. This is
out of the
here.
blue completely.
Has this shattered your Super Bowl week now?
No, I mean, if anything, that'll be like I'm just going to be. I should just take PTO the rest of the week at this point. Like.
I am intrigued to hear what they have to say. Especially what Haslam has to say about where they go here. Is Kennedy the guy? Is he the guy for 2026?
Yeah.
And then we're going to open this up after the season because again,
evaluate, see where he is, how he does.
That opens up to more indecision and a criticism, but indecision as well. Like, we got a stopgap for 1 year and then we're going to do this all over again?
Yeah.
Like, that's not great either.
It's an interim situation without being an interim situation.
Yeah.
And if they needed him and maybe it is a multi-year deal and they'll reevaluate after a year anyway. I mean, there's nothing to say they can't just fire him. But that's, such a weird contingency. But they didn't. I was just trying to think, like, who do they have that they could really elevate in that moment? And
so Coulter just tweeted again, and it says, important distinction, because he's right in the story. We did not have the detail of resign or retire.
Okay.
And it's Houck announcing his retirement today. Been the head coach of Montana for the better part of the last 23 years.
Yeah.
So there you go. Crazy. Again, press conference is coming up here at the top of the hour, and we'll be keeping our eyes peeled to that because that's going to be awfully intriguing to see what transpires out of that in Missoula today.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to replace the president of the university. You have, this is a time of transition for that school.
All right. Thanks for giving us a few extra minutes there.
Thanks for letting me vent and just like clear my head a little bit.
All right. We're going to break. We come back. Bison Media Zone is on deck. Offensive coordinator Dan Larson going to join us. We'll chat maybe some Grizz stuff. He knows Coach Houck and the Bison signing some 8 additional players today. It's coming up when we come back. All right, final stages of Hot Mic here on this Wednesday morning. Bison Media Zone coming up in a few minutes. We got a couple early minutes, though, with Bison offensive coordinator Dan Larson joins us here in studio. He's going to join me for the next half hour. All right, you know Coach Houck somewhat, obviously. Give me your initial thoughts on him deciding to retire.
Yeah, I had just as I was leaving the office, come out and just crazy. I mean, having an opportunity to play against them a couple of times, and the way that their teams played, how hard they played, you could see the pride in the program when he came back.
Yes,
there. and then certainly just being a staple of FCS football, even as an outsider of the FCS world when I was in Division II and Division III. Yeah, shocking to say the least, for sure.
Especially on a day like today. Today's signing day.
Signing day.
This is where you're expecting about the future and talking about the program, and this is not what they want to be talking about, I'm assuming, today.
Yeah, it's always interesting just when it comes up and the reasons that come up. And maybe you see some things over the course of the direction things are going over the course of the last couple of months, and who knows? Hard to speculate, but certainly a fixture in FCS football that'll be missed.
We're going to talk more about the guys that NDSU added today. Let's just do a little remember when this used to be the day, right? The first Wednesday in February. Do you miss that? Do you like where we're at right now with signing day? It's a loaded question, I know.
Yeah, I would say it's like the things that you appreciate about the tradition of it. Yeah. Sandy's Donuts. Guys phone calling, and then
fax machine,
and then going and playing afternoon pickup game, and then being done. Like, hey, we're going to take a couple of days. You guys really pushed hard through the month of January.
Not anymore.
Now, right? I mean, we're in team meetings, and just a little bit different from that standpoint. I can remember my first time I ever went through a signing day, Division II, Minnesota Duluth, and God bless him, defensive coordinator John Steger. He would park at 6 o'clock, he'd be right next to the fax machine. Like, you couldn't get there fast. If you try to get there at 5:45, you try to find a way to get there at 5:44. So, but I can remember those days as being really fun and special, and it's bumped up a little bit now, but we've got some incredible kids that are signing with us today, and we're just as excited about adding them today as we were the class that signed in December.
Would you brag, like, coaches, individual position coaches as well? Like, hey, linebacker got one, or O-line got one.
First guy in. Yeah. What position got the first guy in? Pick of the donut.
And I was talking with a couple of other athletes that are signing at different schools today. They had no idea what a fax machine was.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Right? And that's how. I remember covering my first signing day 20 years ago. That's how you got them. That's how they were sent in.
Yeah, now these guys just take pictures on their
phone.
So literally,
they literally just take a photo of the letter, and that's it. All they need.
Yep.
That is wild.
Notes app, text.
Is this a stressful day or not so much? Not like December is.
Not like December. Yeah. I think, but I do. The one aspect that's nice. Some of these guys, a couple of them that have signed today, like we've been in this recruiting process with them. Just an extra 2 months.
Yeah.
But we've been in it for about the same amount of time as a lot of the guys we signed in December. I think from our standpoint, you actually get a little bit excited because you're adding some pieces that weren't necessarily, hey, do we really have a chance, or were these guys still thinking Bison football a month and a half ago? And now they are, been over the course of the last month and a half, they've gotten back into being a part of this, and, we're certainly excited to add them and their families.
And the intriguing part is, especially, and I'll single North Dakota State out, that you guys are looking at high school players, where there's a bunch of schools that today, they're announcing mid-year transfers, where obviously you added a few of those, but specifically, these are high school guys you're adding today.
Yeah, still, what we want to do. I think there's a reason why, from a coaching staff standpoint, I think you're going to continue to see, not that I want to speak for everybody, but I think there's a beauty in still working for a place like North Dakota State. We're still valuing, just call it 90% of what we signed up for when we thought this was going to be the best job of all time. When little Danny Larson started coaching in 2002, 2003, I get to coach ball, and there's a spring practices and do all these types of things. But the recruiting piece was a huge, I'm excited to go out and who are these next 18-year-olds that want to play college ball, and you're going to have an impact on that. That was a pretty cool thing. I think we still get to do that almost to the same extent that we did back in the day. Almost to the same extent, that we kind of grew up doing it.
Especially, and I'll save a little bit more for the other side of our commercial break here, but when you come in, Bison colors, and you're wearing, how different is that as opposed to your old schools that you coached at? Is there a different recognition you get? Are there better players, frankly, that you get to meet because you're coming from NDSU?
2018, I'm recruiting for Wisconsin Eau Claire.
And you guys are pretty good.
Well,
Eau Claire's all right.
We're working at it, right? We're trying to get back up top, and so you're trying to be consistent. And there's a couple of coaches in some high schools in Wisconsin that their doors open up a little bit faster. All of a sudden, my logo went to a Bison versus a Blue Gold. And I still think about that every once in a while when I walk in there.
That's funny.
I think there is some the power in the logo for sure.
Yeah.
I think the one part of it that, I'm really fortunate I get to recruit my home state. But even when you go into some other places, I had a chance to recruit in Chicago for a little bit, and when in Iowa when I first started here as well too. Even if there's not a huge relationship with the school, people still understand the brand.
Yeah.
Hey, this is somebody that's really values the high school player. They value, they're going to take an extra 20 minutes to sit down and just talk with the high school coach a little bit as well too. I think those things still carry a lot of weight, and it's part of the tradition that you're trying to uphold here at NDSU is how we go out and do our business with high school coaches and programs.
All right, we'll get much more with Dan coming up here before we'll get into some Bison Media Zone and chat on, evidently it's a football game Sunday. Have you heard?
Yeah.
Some guys you may know are playing in it.
2 really good ones.
All right, let's do that on the other side. Okay. First, let's do some What to Watch before we get out of here on this Wednesday. We got a lot going on tonight. Summit League fans, you can check this out tonight. CBS Sports Network's got the Jackrabbits and St. Thomas, 6 o'clock tonight. That's a biggie to keep an eye on the men's side. The Wolves are at the Raptors. Who knows if this is the last time we're going to see Julius Randle, Jaden McDaniels playing for Minnesota. And the Wild play their final game for the Olympic break. They have the Predators tonight. Those games both are on FanDuel Sports North coming up tonight at 6:30 and 7. Bison Media Zone coming back with NDSU offensive coordinator Dan Larson. Back on Hot Mic tomorrow. We'll see you then.